Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob, and you know what video this is. This is week 2 of March to the King of Monsters, and this one we're going to look for the greatest moment, in my opinion, in Godzilla Raids again. Let's go. Okay guys, welcome back. So this was a challenge. This was certainly a challenge. Yeah. Now, on the bright side, I did finally get to watch the Japanese version of this movie, which is better because that voiceover from the American version is just horrendous. The last time I've seen this movie was actually back when I did the first March of the King. It's not a movie I often revisit. Not at all. But you know something, after 5 years since the last time I've seen it, or 4 years, well, no, it's been 5 years, and I was right, because it was around this time in 2013. I actually did find 2 parts in this movie that I think I can make an argument for a great moment. It won't be the best moment amongst all Godzilla films, I can tell you that right now. But the one I chose, once again, is kind of, it's not monster related. What I will do before I get to that moment, the moment that I did pick, the moment that I was leaning towards was the scene where Godzilla kills Anguirus, where he bites him in the neck and then dumps him in the water and then lights his ass on fire, because that's something we don't often see him do. You know, like, there's not too much blood in all the Godzilla movies. You know, you have this movie, you have Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, you have Godzilla vs. Gigan. I believe, was it Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, where he got punctured? Was it that one? I believe it was that one, yes. And I'm sure there's at least a couple of other, but out of all the movies, not many. There's even a little bit of blood in Godzilla 2014 if you look closely. So I thought to myself, wow, that's a pretty cool moment, you know, because from that point forward, Anguirus is gone for the rest of the movie. But actually, there was one scene that really caught my eye, and I really liked it. And actually did not really include much of anything other than the way it was set up. Like, there's really no characters, there's no monsters. And it was the scene right when they made the announcement. There was that party where everybody's dancing and there's a singing. And then the announcement comes on a loudspeaker for everybody to take shelter and to shut all the lights off in the city, because they were going to test the whole idea of putting light flares in the air to kind of attract Godzilla away from Japan. The theory was that he hates light, or that it angers him, it attracts him, whatever the case may be. And during that scene, after the people are running away and they're heading to their shelters, they show the city, and they show the city slowly, other areas of the city, the lights are shutting off. And before you know it, it's completely pitch black. There's no music. There's hardly any sound other than the jets flying across the air and a couple of few scenes of tanks and trucks being driven into the city. But in between all that, there were some really quiet, foreboding moments that I thought to myself, damn, that is really a good setup. That is really kind of eerie. The only problem, what doesn't make this scene as great as I think it could have been, was that the end result, after Godzilla initially makes his way, was that we had to cut away to the scene where the prisoners get out of jail, or excuse me, not get out of jail. They're being transported and they escape the truck and they're on the run, and then eventually they crash and there's a big fire explosion, and that attracts Godzilla back. But I thought to myself, damn, if they didn't have to use that scene, if they had completely cut that out and they just continued with that scene, and then Godzilla approaching the city, and they left the music off, and all you see is him approaching, and everything's quiet, and everything's dark, and you got the planes across. Man, that would have been such a fucking awesome scene. So what I'm saying is, for me, the greatest moment could have been something like that, but I gotta say, that particular scene stood out for me the most, yes, you can argue it's definitely not the greatest moment in the movie. Maybe if you want to use my last one where he kills Anguirus, the first time seeing two monsters in the Godzilla universe ever fight were these two monsters. But you know what it is? It's just that scene, for some reason, I thought it was really good. Unfortunately, the payoff wasn't that great, even though the scene showing Godzilla coming to the city was really good. Eventually, it turned into the brawl between Godzilla and Anguirus, which was, you know, it's aged a little bit. Not as good as its predecessor, but it's aged. But if you guys get a chance, go back and watch that scene. It's right after everybody evacuates that party or that dance, and they show the city, and slowly all the lights are going off. The music cuts off. It's pretty quiet. And in between the quietness is the planes flying over and the military coming into the city, and then eventually Godzilla. But it just gets so messed up with that scene where they cut away to the prisoners escaping, which eventually causes the explosion to bring Godzilla back. And then that leads to Godzilla fighting Anguirus in the city, which is a little painful to watch. But that one scene I thought was so cool. And I just think to myself, man, what could have been if something like this turned out differently? If rather than Godzilla being attracted back to the city because of the fire, maybe something else brings him back to the city. Or maybe as he's leaving the city, Anguirus decides to appear and then Godzilla comes back. You could have gotten a lot more out of that scene. You probably could have done more with it, like the monsters coming on, and maybe they're not as rowdy when they get to the city because the lights are off, because it is so quiet, and nothing's firing at them yet. So you get that quiet scene. It's dark and the monsters are kind of creeping around the city, but they're not necessarily causing destruction. And then Godzilla sees Anguirus and they come and they start fighting. But that's the best I could do with this movie, I gotta tell you. But really, seriously though, if you get a chance, go back and watch the movie. If you don't remember the scene I'm talking about, go back and watch that scene and just kind of take all the other craziness out of the movie that's happened at that point. Focus on that scene. Maybe even rewind it once or twice, and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. There could have been something so great, I believe, in my opinion, set up during that scene, something better than what they went with in terms of trying to get Godzilla back to the city by using the prisoners escaping. Because the actual setup was so good. It was so just foreboding, and it could have been such a good tense builder. And I'm sure if you have watched it the first time ever, you would think something big is going to happen. And then next thing you know, you cut away to these prisoners that are escaping a freaking truck, they're beating up the guards, and oh well. But that's the best I can do with this movie, guys. So next week will be Godzilla vs. King Kong. That'll be an interesting one too, because that's something else. But I'm pretty sure we have a better chance of finding a great moment in that movie as opposed to this one. And like I said, I just chose that scene because myself personally, I thought it was really, really a really good setup that didn't have a great payoff. But you know, if you think that my other pick that I was leaning towards, which is Godzilla killing Anguirus, is the greatest moment, that's a fair argument as well. It's just something about that scene. I really liked it, and I just thought, while the payoff wasn't great, I just think to myself, what the payoff could have been would have been much greater, and probably would have completed what I think would have been the greatest moment in this movie. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. Click here to watch more content. Or you can click here to become an E.T.N. patron. Don't forget to leave a comment. Also, make sure you like and share this video. If you want to know when the next video is up, click the notification bell next to the subscribe button. And most of all, make sure to click that subscribe button for regular content.